Good day, I'm Ethel Arbanato, and this is our group activity which we're going to present as Bugay Group. And here are my teammates. So we have Junlin Adanasio and Jomarlene Hidalgo and me. And I'm going to begin the introduction. So our presentation is all about Sockeye, or the scientific name, which is Oncorhynchus nerca. Onchus means lump or bend, and rhynchus is snout. Snout refers to the male fish's development of a dramatically hooked nose that is during spawning season, also when its skin turns into brilliant red. Then, nerca comes from the Russian term for anadromous nature of the fish, and sockeye comes from the Salish North American native tribe's word Sockeye, which means fish of fishes. And then the sockeye salmon typically measure 1.5 feet to 2.5 feet and weigh between 4 to 15 pounds. So, the Sockeye Oncorhynchus nerca, also called as red salmon, blueback salmon, kokanee, and they live in fresh water. So, they are called as red salmon because their skin turns bright red to dirty red during spawning season. And it is a Pacific salmon known for its deep red hue during spawning season. And it comes from the bright red color males turn into red during spawning season, while on females it takes on reddish pink color, but not as vibrant on hue or consistent throughout the external body as like males. So in kokanee, this means not making their journey to the ocean, that live throughout their lives in a freshwater lake, and the maximum is 1.2 feet. Blueback salmon, because for the dark blue color, it features throughout its time in salt water and until spawning. From juvenile development to adulthood, the fish are silvery color with deep blue tones along the spine to blend into salt water habitat. And they lives in fresh water, and they are semiporous, which means they start their lives in fresh water, or they reproduce or breeding only once in a lifetime. Examples are lampreys, eels, and this means semiporous before migrating as far as 1,000 miles downriver to the ocean for several years. Then, when it is time to spawn, the fish return to its freshwater origin for mating. The little disadvantage as semiporous, the fish die after the first spawning, and they die after reproduction. The additional distinctive markings appear in the head of males, and on females is in their sides during the spawning period. So, sockeye is an anadromous fish beginning in life in freshwater streams, swimming out to sea to feed and mature for 2 years, and then returning to the stream of its birth to spawn and die. They also primarily eat plankton, but it is also known to feed on insects and bottom-dwelling organisms. We have the Sockeye Oncorhynchus nerca on its kite. This is male salmon. This is male salmon, as you can see, that usually develop hook snout, or they call it as kite. This is to show their dominance characteristics, where male salmon arrive first and start to take out their territories. So, on all about Oncorhynchus nerca, we have the next reporter, which is Jomarlene Hidalgo.
So this is all about the Oncornicus nerca. So let's start with the taxonomy classification. So kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Actinopterygii, order Salmoniformes family Salmonidae, genus Oncornicus, scientific name Oncornicus nerca. So habitat. So sockeye salmon are born in lakes, rivers or streams which are calmer than the Pacific Ocean. So, anadromous sockeye migrate from freshwater habitats to the ocean to further grow, feed, and mature. While in physical appearance, when a sockeye salmon hatch, they lack pigment, dust color. So, sockeye salmon return to their freshwater spawning grounds. Their heads turn green and their body turn bright red. Hence, their other common name in Alaska is red salmon. So, this is the anatomy or the external part of Oncornicus nerca. So, the salmon includes eyes, mouth, fins, lateral line, gill cover, and nostril. So, they have 6 types of fins including their tail. So, each fin has a different purpose. So, the anal fin provides balance. So, salmon have a layer of slime covering their body that protects them and help them glide easily through the water.
So, we have the Sockeye Oncornicus nerca, its internal anatomy. So, we have the liver, which is, fun fact, it is the largest organ in fish's body. And of course, we have the stomach, which breaks down food with digestive juices. And we have the swim bladder, which they fill with air for the first time as swim upright. And their air provides buoyancy, allowing them to float in water. And of course, we have the kidney. The kidney have 2 kidneys that join together. The first, it produces red blood cell, and the second is it cleans the blood. In smelting process, the kidney is in critical smelting process, which from fresh water to salt water, in a process which we call osmoregulations. So we will explain what is osmoregulations later. Then the salmon eggs. The female eggs, there are 2 sacs of eggs and that held each with a membrane. While on female, there are also 2 sacs or testes that produce milk when ready to spoon. So milk becomes liquid containing sperm and squeezed out of vent opening to fertilize eggs. And also, we all know salmon have a fish tail, which is the main source of movement for most of the fish.
The life cycle of sockeye salmon. So it starts with fertilized egg, alevin, fry, juvenile, then small, then adult, then the last one is mature adult salmon. Then the life cycle begins. Then the breeding interval. Sockeye salmon breed once a year. Then the breeding season. Sockeye salmon generally breed from July to October. Then the range number of upstream salmon is 47 to 206. Then the range time to hatching is 32 to 42 days. Then the average time to independence is 0 years. Then the range age at sexual or reproductive maturity, the female is 4 to 5 years. Then the average age at sexual or reproductive maturity of female is only 4 years. Then the range age at sexual or reproductive maturity of male salmon is 4 to 5 years.
Okay, so in their life cycle, Junlin Atanasio will report all about life cycle, but I have an additional information on the life cycle of Sockeye or Oncorhynchus nerca. So, in salmon, they have external fertilization, which they release their eggs, or what eggs and sperm, or what we call gametes, through an opening right in front of their anal fin, and they release orange eggs, 2 to 10,000 eggs. And males may spawn with several females if they are strong, but females usually just spawn with one male. And 1 to 2 day once, adult reach spawning grounds. And then after the spawning, the salmon die. Female guard their nest for 2 or 1 week if they are still alive. But they get weaker each day and eventually wash downstreams and end up in river banks, which if they die, they are for predators. They can be fed for predators. And Sockeye salmon die after mating. Then in Sockeye salmon, they start life in freshwater before migrating into the ocean for several years. Then returning to freshwater origins for spawning. And then after that, they may go to freshwater again to spawn, but each day they get weaker and weaker. Okay, next. So here we go. We have the osmoregulation. Osmoregulation, it is where the process of maintaining salt and water balance across the body's measurement. So, in osmoregulation, in salt water, the salmon loses water by osmosis. It drinks salt water and disposes of excess salt through its gills. While in fresh water, the salmon gains water by osmosis. Its kidneys excrete large quantities of urine along with some salts, and it replenishes the lost salts through uptake by its gills and digestive system. This means that the control of body fluids and ions during the transitions from freshwater to saltwater and back again to freshwater, this is an important transition in the life of every Pacific salmons. So, to offset the dehydrating effects of salt water, the salmon drinks copiously or several liters per day. In freshwater, where water loading is the problem, the salmon doesn't drink at all in freshwater. When the salmon returns to its natal stream to spawn, it must again remain in brackish water for a period while its kidneys will adjust, and the NaCl or the sodium chloride pump changes directions to pump sodium chloride out of the water and into their blood. Ang pinagkahiban po in salmon, in ocean, salmon drinks several liters of water a day to maintain its water volume. While if they are in freshwater, they doesn't drink at all, except for what it takes during feeding lang. And in freshwater, salmon kidneys produce a large volume of very dilute urine to offset the excess water diffusing into its body fluids. While in ocean environment, salmon's urine is highly concentrated, consisting mostly of salt ions, and it excretes a very little water. So, in ocean, their bodies tend to dehydrate in salt water. They constantly drink salt water using salt gland to extract the salt so they do not get dehydrated, as what the other reporter explained. So in freshwater, So if they are in fresh water, their body takes on water and salmon stop drinking. They will stop drinking unless if they are go or unless if they are going to feed in feeding. And they in fresh water they begin to produce a large amount of urine to rid their bodies of extra water. So in freshwater salmon's kidney, they produce a large volume of very dilute urine to offset the excess water diffusing into its body fluids. While on the ocean's environment, the kidney's urine production rates drop dramatically, and the urine is as concentrated as the kidney can make it. The salmon's kidney cannot make its urine anywhere near as concentrated as human can, but they do their best. So in the salmon's kidney, in freshwater, they have the large volumes of dilute urine to cope with all of the water that diffusing into the salmon's body fluids.
So this is the adaptation on salinity of the sockeye salmon. So salmon also possess an amazing adaptation that enables osmoregulation by the fish in both freshwater and seawater habitats. So changes in salinity affect the osmotic regulation of fish, which in turn affects their survival, growth, development, metabolism, osmotic capacity, and reproduction. So the salinity tolerance was directly related to fish size, and a size of at least 50 mm was required for 100% survival in seawater, because salinity in the estuary ranged 0 to 30%. So sockeye of all sizes could survive in the estuary. So thus, in 3 to 4 mm sea-type sockeye attained a size large enough to adapt to seawater and migrate to sea. So the critical changes in osmoregulation are not immediate, though when a salmon smolt first leaves its home stream, it must rest in brackish water for several days or weeks while it adjusts. So yung salmon smolt, magre-rest muna siya dun sa brackish water for several days. Then mag-a-adjust siya, and then it will slowly move into water with a higher salt concentration.
So, in conclusion, maintaining salt and water balance across the body's membranes. Any fish faces a challenge to maintain this balance. A freshwater fish struggles to retain salt and not take on too much water, while a saltwater fish tends to lose too much water to the environment and keeps a surplus of salt, and how animals and plants adjust to the demands of their environment. Anadromous and catadromous fish, however, must adapt to two environments with opposite physiological requirements, and to do this, they flip the switch on osmoregulation from one extreme to the other. As additional, anadromous species of fish in the Salmonidae is in the Salmonidae family. And if they migrate from saltwater habitat, they're going again to freshwater for reproduction, and after that, after spawning, they will die. And their unique characteristic is that they are fish color changing, and fish develop behaviors and physiological adaptations to survive in their environments, whether fresh or marine waters. Also, the overfishing and global climate change are the biggest threats to sockeye salmon. So, these are our references. Thank you. So, once again, we are the Bugay Group.